My God, if they weaponize this, they could kill 100,000 Americans a year. It is the largest U.S. intelligence failure since 9/11.
We lost our daughter, our youngest daughter, Lauren, July 9th, 2020, due to fentanyl poisoning.
My son's dead. I can't bring him back.
Fentanyl is killing everybody. It is killing toddlers.
We had our local police department stop by, and they told us that she had overdosed.
The kids are dying, the little kids. They're innocent kids. They're not overdosing on fentanyl. They're getting poisoned.
They told me my dad had 6 heart attacks. 6 heart attacks. No help from this government. No help.
I say this is not red or blue. This is red, white, and blue. Every American should care.
We know that the cartels don't give a damn about this country. I know who else doesn't give a damn about this country, and he lives in that house right there.
In a world where values are often questioned, where the voices of hardworking Americans go unheard, there is a place where truth, faith, and family stand strong. Welcome to Real America's Voice, the conservative news network that believes in God, country, and family. At Real America's Voice, we are dedicated to providing you with the news that matters most to you and your loved ones. Our team of experienced journalists and experts are committed to delivering accurate, unbiased reporting, free from the biases and agendas that plague other networks. From the heartland to the coast, we go beyond the headlines, digging deep to bring you the stories that mainstream media ignore.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Stinchfield. When good men and women do bold things that lead to a better nation, to a better Congress, I find it my duty to come to their defense when they are attacked. Of course, I'm talking about this gang of 8 congressmen and women that ousted Speaker McCarthy because Speaker McCarthy wasn't living up to his promises. Well, what is going on in Washington now is absolutely disgusting. The behavior of the elitist, of the ruling class in Washington is disgusting to me, to watch it unfold. See, they don't like when their leader is slayed. And when their leader is slayed, the swamp creatures apparently rise up and they have sharp fangs and they start to bite. See, we are about to expose these ruling class of elites right now for the despicable human beings that they actually are. I want you to take a look at this soundbite. This is a former Pence advisor who is going after Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz is a guy who doesn't need me to defend him. But I'm proud to stand shoulder to shoulder to him and offer my defense, because what they are throwing at Gaetz now for simply doing what he felt was in the best interest of a country, what I felt is in the best interest of this country, and what most of you felt was in the best interest of this country, ousting Speaker McCarthy. I want you to listen to the garbage that they are throwing at Matt Gaetz.
I think that what's concerning is we really are $33 trillion in debt.
Yeah.
We do have a border crisis.
100%.
There's a lot of issues that need to be solved.
Yes.
But the people who were masquerading as fiscal conservatives really aren't, Jake. I mean, Matt Gaetz, to say he came here as a fiscal crusader, it's more likely he came here for the teenage interns on Capitol Hill, to be honest. Look, he's voted for continuing resolutions. He's voted for omnibus bills. He voted for trillions of dollars in COVID spending. Even this year, he put forward an earmark. And yet he's presented himself as, I'm doing this for the fiscal benefit of the country.
He makes a U-turn joke. Quite frankly, it's defamatory. You know, Matt Gaetz is a public figure, so he's got no defense when people hurl arrows at him like this. It gets even worse, though, because a sitting United States senator, a guy I actually have some respect for up until now, Markwayne Mullin, the senator from Oklahoma, decides to go down this path. It's not becoming of where our government officials should be. Listen.
This is a guy that the media didn't give a time of day to after he was accused of sleeping with an underage girl. And there's a reason why no one in the conference came and defended him, because we had all seen the videos he was showing on the House floor that all of us had walked away of the girls that he had slept with. He'd brag about how he would crush ED medicine and chase it with an energy drink so he could go all night.
I can't listen to him. Take him off. Take him off the screen. Enough of that. You know, he wants to say the media all turned their back. When I was over at that other network, I was the only guy that was interviewing Matt Gaetz. Why? Because I knew all the allegations were bullcorn. Okay? They knew it too. The investigations, Matt Gaetz was cleared in all of those things. And he wants to bring that up now. That is mudslinging beyond belief. And Mark Wayne Mullen, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. Why? Because your big boss man has been ousted. McCarthy, he wasn't even in the United States Senate. What are you going to do if, God forbid, Mitch McConnell's ousted next? We ought to be focused on the Senate as well. I thought individual ideas meant something in America. I thought Republicans respected individual ideas and free thinkers and critical thinkers. Why are they piling on like this? Because they know their power is threatened now. See, the establishment in Washington sees the ouster of McCarthy as a threat to business as usual, just as they saw it as a threat when President Trump burst onto the scene. See, they like business as usual because it makes them all rich and it makes them all powerful. But now things are changing. Fox News even sees it.
Are you happy following Matt Gaetz? Is that your leader?
I'm not following Matt Gaetz. I made my own decision. I didn't ask Matt.
But if Matt Gaetz didn't challenge, you weren't going to challenge.
Do what?
If Matt Gaetz didn't stand up, you weren't going to challenge. You know that.
I believe I would have.
Oh, come on.
Oh, well.
Please. You were praying about it 1 minute. The next minute, you're going to lead an insurgency?
So you don't think that praying about it's important? Is that what you're saying?
One minute you're praying about how you're going to vote with Matt Gaetz. And the next minute you're going to lead an insurgency?
What is Brian Kilmeade up to? So that's Tim Burchett, one of the other 8 that voted to oust McCarthy. What is Brian Kilmeade doing? These are patriots who believe in fiscal responsibility, who believe that there is a rule of order in the United States Congress that should be followed for the betterment of this country. Why are you attacking a guy who made a vote that you disagree with in our own party? And I get you want to attack Democrats off of principled votes that go totally against where we stand as a party. But when you're attacking your own, especially someone who's doing the best for this country, I don't know why. So now do you know they are talking about expelling these members? Not just from the caucus. Some of them are talking about expelling them from Congress. There's no way they could do that. It'd be unconstitutional. And by the way, all they were doing was following the rules. So as Brian Kilmeade says, oh, they were following Matt Gaetz, enemy number 1. But here's what they say about enemy number 2 through 7. Watch.
Some of them were useful idiots in this crusade on Matt Gaetz's part. Unfortunately, these 8 individuals torpedoed the conference, took out our best player on the field, if you will, and created a constitutional crisis.
A constitutional crisis? What? Because you have to do your job now and pick another speaker? Are you nuts? Tell me one thing that Speaker McCarthy did that worked in Washington where Republicans had the upper hand. And don't tell me this debt ceiling deal. We don't have a debt ceiling right now. There's been no cut in spending. There was no unification of our party that controls Congress right now. All he had to do was live up to his promises. It would have been so easy. And now they come out and say a constitutional crisis. You guys take yourself way too seriously. You know that? Get down to the business of taking care of this country and not taking care of your pocketbooks and your power. So who's next, okay? Who should be the speaker? As I try to calm myself down here a little bit. I have an idea. I know who's going to be speaker. And I'm going to make a prediction that it is Jim Jordan. The reason why I'm making this prediction is because he's the guy who should have been the speaker the last time around. He was afraid to put his name in the hat because he was afraid of the vitriol from McCarthy. He was afraid there would be ramifications from McCarthy if he threw his name in the hat. I asked him to run on this program. No, he couldn't do it. He says he didn't want it. But as soon as McCarthy's out, Jim Jordan threw his name in the hat because Jim Jordan is the guy that can unify this party. Jim Jordan is the only man in Congress that I know that threads the needle between very great respect from those on my side, like Stinchfield's Army, like all of you, hardline conservatives, okay? And he's not hated by the establishment. So he's virtually loved by all of us, but not hated by the establishment. That's a needle to be thread that not many people could do. Jim Jordan can. He can unite us. Here's an example why.
You need someone who can unite the conference, and I think just as importantly, unite the conservative and Republican movement across this country. That's what I think I can do. That's why I'm running for the job. I like the job I had. Chairman of the Judiciary Committee, chairman of the Select Committee on the Weaponization of Government, doing the work there. But I do think we have to have someone who can bring our team together. I think I'm best equipped to do that. The 8 people who voted in a way that I disagreed with, we got to bring them into the fold. I think I'm best equipped to do that so that we can then go do the things we told the American people we would do for them.
That's what needs to happen. And stop with this idea of McCarthy, he can work with the Democrats. I don't want them working with anybody. Not when it comes to our principles. You want to negotiate, okay, a tax break of 15% to 10%, we'll meet in the middle of 12. Fine, you can negotiate on things like that. But you don't negotiate on principles. And McCarthy was sacrificing our principles as a party, as a republic, as a nation. Jim Jordan won't do it. I promise you. He'll be strong for us. Get him in there. Well, of all the guys and one gal that stood firm for this, they are all taking heat after this gang of 8. And I want to bring in one of those members of the gang of 8. Joining me now, the Republican congressman from Arizona, Andy Biggs, is with us. Andy, welcome.
Thanks, Grant. Good to be with you.
Are you surprised at the vitriol that is coming to you and the 7 others who voted to oust Speaker McCarthy? I've been very outspoken about it. I think all of you guys are heroes, quite frankly. But boy, they're coming after you.
No, Grant, to be honest with you, I'm not surprised. We knew it would happen when we took on McCarthy's, 8, 9, 10 months ago, whatever it was, almost a year ago, I guess. We got lambasted as well. It turns out that the Uniparty doesn't like to go quietly into the night.
No, they don't. Look, there's talk about trying to remove you and the 7 others from the caucus. Committee assignments are at stake. I think if we're the party of democracy and a republic, this is the exact opposite of that.
Yeah, Grant, don't forget the rule that we used and invoked was a rule that was unanimously passed by every Republican and endorsed by Kevin McCarthy himself. I didn't ask for that change. He made that change. That was the rule for over 200 years. The only person that changed it was Nancy Pelosi because she didn't want to have anybody come against her. But, Kevin McCarthy said this is what we're going to do, and this is what happened. And I would implore every speaker candidate to say that they're going to keep and operate by the same rule. Look, there are other safeguards in place to prevent that from going down. So you could have assigned it to a committee, or you could have moved to table it. And we did move to table it, but they lost their defense of the tabling motion. So, I mean, everything was done by the rules. That the people now that are so upset, they approved those rules as well.
So now we have to move forward, right? And I believe, just as I did before former Speaker McCarthy was elected the last time, I said Jim Jordan was the guy. I love this guy because I think he threads the needle between being very respected from the conservatives and the hardline conservatives, as well as not being hated from those in the establishment. And there is a difference there. I love this guy. Who's your pick? Do you have one? Where do you stand?
So, Grant, I got to be telling you the truth. I mean, we've just talked about the vitriol that I've received. If I endorse anybody publicly or even privately and it gets out, then whoever I endorse loses about 125 to 150 votes just because Biggs supports them right now. So I've decided that I'm looking at criteria, things that are important to me, and I'm going to vote for the person that can deliver that best and get 218 votes, because I want us to go out of there. No more this vote after vote after vote on the floor like we did last January, which, by the way, we asked Speaker, then Majority Leader McCarthy, to let us do that behind closed doors. He didn't want to. I'm hoping that wiser minds prevail and that we do everything behind the doors. We get our 218 votes all sorted out behind closed doors before we take it out to the public.
And look, I respect you not telling us who it is if that's the case, that this would literally sink their chance at being a speaker. Do you have somebody in mind, at least, without telling me who?
Yeah, there's actually a couple of 3 people that I think would do a really solid job, that I think that could get votes from both sides of the conference, that would give us a conservative voice, remember the Republican Party platform, hopefully keep the rule intact, hopefully also, I think that they have to have integrity for sure. And the people that I'm thinking of generally, I think, are broadly, their reputation is having one of strong veracity. And I've enjoyed good personal relationships with all 3 of these people that I'm thinking of.
Are you saddened, angered by the fact that you can't name who you want for speaker because it may sink their speakership, that you've got others coming out saying that you should be kicked out of the caucus for playing by the rules? Where do you fall on this, just from a personal level, Congressman Biggs?
Well, everybody's entitled to their opinion, and that's the opinion of these people, and it doesn't really sadden me or frustrate me. There are other things that frustrate me, but the fact that people say nasty things about me or to me, and want to punish me for using the tools, that doesn't bother me too much. I mean, I get where they're coming from, and I believe that at the end of the day, after they work it out of their system, the visceral reaction that they have now, I think things will work out fine. They worked out fine after the January deal on the speaker's race, where people told me, I had actually people tell me that I was going to destroy the party, the institution, the country, and myself by running against Kevin McCarthy. And I actually had people come in and tell me that again this time. And I'm like, you know what? If we're that weak as a nation and a party and as an institution, then the fact that Andy Biggs is voting by the rules to remove Kevin McCarthy, to vacate the chair, then our country is far weaker than I think it is, and the American people are far weaker. And I don't think they are. I think they're stronger.
I'm with you on that, but it is a very sad assessment as to what's going on in Washington today. Let me play a clip from you from Trey Gowdy, who used to be a conservative hero. He's been faltering along the way a little bit here. Maybe that's because he's at Fox News now. Watch.
And whoever they go to this next time is still going to have a narrow majority, a Democrat-controlled Senate, and a Democrat in the White House. You'll have a new face, and nothing else will change except the 8 people, the 8 images you put up will become famous. And that's what Republicans crave. They crave fame. While Democrats change the country, Republicans crave fame. So congratulations, you got it. Right, fame in the minority.
You know, Congressman Biggs, I find it very ironic that Trey Gowdy left the United States Congress to go be a commentator on Fox News, and he's talking about fame.
Yeah, let me explain something. I'll leave Trey Gowdy out of it. I mean, he's just another one of those talking heads that are kind of getting after us right now. But look, we are at an inflection point in history. We have an existential crisis. Everything from the border to inflation to energy to the crime in the streets of America. And guess what? There are just a couple of things that we can do to attack that. And they come all from controlling the purse strings that the Founding Fathers gave us. So whoever it is going in, I believe that they're going to have the strength to use the points. It's not going to be the same. I think he's completely wrong. It doesn't have to be the same. If it's the same and we get exactly no product and we don't change the outcome, he can't tell you. He just like so many people say, Andy, we had so many things going for us. Tell me one. Tell me one that worked for us. The bottom line is, if we're going to make a change, this was the time to do it because we still have over a year left and before the next election, and we can get in there and we can go ahead and use the budget, the 12 budget bills to actually get rid of corrupt, duplicative, wasteful programs. We can also use it as leverage to get enforcement of the border or to change energy policy. If you're not willing to do that and make those changes because they're hard and it upsets you and it's tough to be in a conflict, then you know what? I'm sorry. I don't like being in conflict, but what I do feel is important is we have to stand up for the American people because nobody else is standing up for the American people right now. And if we do that and we use our tools, we can actually change the course of this nation and return it to a better course.
Andy Biggs, I firmly believe you're correct on this. What you and the 7 others did gives us a chance now in Congress of getting back to the founders' vision of limited government, even if it's a small step. We will get a better speaker than McCarthy, and that would mean we are better off than we were before all this happened. And I believe no one's going to be able to argue that point after you elect your next speaker, whoever it is of the 3 that are being named right now. It's going to be better than it was when McCarthy was in office. Congressman Andy Biggs, I appreciate your bravery, your boldness, and your time for coming on the show tonight. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Grant. Good to be with you as always.
Absolutely. And don't let the other ones get you down, Congressman. Don't let them get you down at all. All right, folks, a new story about Biden corruption involving now his daughter, Ashley. I'll get to that next. back, everyone. So we talk a lot about Hunter Biden, and for good reason. The foreign business deals, the drugs, the prostitutes, now the gun charges, his 10% for the big guy, of course. The list goes on and on and on. We rarely mention his sister, though, Ashley Biden, and maybe more importantly, her husband, Howard Krein, the founder of that startup Health, okay? That's where last we heard he is the chief medical advisor of Startup Health. Who funded Startup Health? Well, according to a new book by Breitbart's Alex Marlow called Breaking Biden, Startup Health is funded by one of China's largest insurance companies, Ping An. That's the China connection right there, okay? But Startup Health, according to Marlow, is also linked to another healthcare company called Henry Schein. That company, according to Marlow, scored a $53 million contract with Biden's U.S. Department of Health to supply personal protection equipment. This is the kind of thing that reeks of impropriety, especially when you add this tidbit into it. Joe Biden's campaign hired Ashley Biden's husband to advise him on healthcare issues, including issues about COVID. So, true to the Biden family business machine, Joe Biden once again appears to be facilitating big profits back to his family members, simply off Joe Biden's position of power, this time as president of the United States. It's a story we have not heard really anything about. Well, joining me now to break all of this down is the author of that book, Breaking Biden, exposing the hidden forces and secret money machine behind Joe Biden, his family, and his administration. Breitbart's own Alex Marlow is with us. Alex, great to see you.
Grant, it's great to see you as well, and a truly terrific summary of what I think is a pretty major scandal.
It's amazing nobody's talking about this. I think that's going to change once your book starts to pop like I expect it to be. But why don't you take me through this and what you thought when you first started uncovering all of these connections?
Yeah, so I'm semi-obsessed with Joe Biden's cancer moonshot, which is of all the BS that Joe Biden has spit over the course of his life, and I document so much of it, things you've heard, things you haven't heard in the book. The fact that he's claiming he cured cancer is the most insane thing imaginable. I happen to have several oncologists in my family, and none of them speak about cancer the way Joe does. They all act like it's something where there's huge advances in treatment, none of it thanks to Joe, that's going on, but no one even talks about as being cured, and Joe does. And it started to dawn on me, maybe there's something to this. And I traced what Joe Biden actually does with his cancer initiative and who's in charge of it. It's Ashley Biden's husband, who started to get connected to Joe during the Obama-Biden administration, where Joe scored for Ashley Biden's husband and Startup Health a Oval Office meeting with Barack Obama before they even had a company. Grant, could you imagine having a startup and then getting a face-to-face in the Oval Office about your startup before you were even legal, before you were even a viable entity? That's insane.
Of course not.
I mean, the luck. Yeah.
Let me guess.
Sure.
As soon as that meeting happens, what happens? All the money starts to flow?
The money starts flowing, and it's not just money from the U.S., it's money from overseas, as you point out, in China, and the China ties are deepening. So all of this is happening while the coronavirus ends up growing, and the business, Startup Health, benefits greatly, and some of its funders as well during the coronavirus. And you've got this man, Howard Krein, who is advising Joe Biden on COVID while he is making money off of the COVID industry. So you've got a guy who's funded by Chinese money, making money off the China virus, while his companies are backed by China. So all of this just paints this constellation of corruption at the highest level. But it gets even worse from there, because you see that Howard Krein is now in charge of Joe Biden's cancer moonshot. So Joe is parading him around the world, taking him to Davos, taking him to the Vatican to meet with the Pope. And so what are these guys doing there? They're not just selling Startup Health or saying that Joe's really dialed in on cancer. They're selling Howard Krein, who is another conduit for people, in my opinion, is another conduit for people and entities who want to influence the Biden family via money.
Wow. It's amazing because the tentacles continue to go out. And just when you think you had all the family members like Jim Biden and Frank and the brothers and Hunter all together, we forget about the sister. And then lo and behold, the husband's connected to all of this. Do you have any ability to get this in the hands of the right people who are investigating this in Congress? Is there any indication that they're investigating these connections? Because different now is Joe Biden is president of the United States. They keep saying, oh, a lot of this happened when he wasn't in office. Well, he's president now.
I think I have provided compelling evidence that the Joe Biden cancer moonshot is essentially a scam that is designed to basically build the brand of his family and create places for Joe to increase that wealth and power for other Bidens not named Joe Biden, as he's been doing for years. I think the evidence is there. I do not have subpoena power. I am not federal law enforcement. I cannot go round people up and take depositions from them. I think that needs to happen right now. Now, this DOJ is not going to do it. Joe Biden's DOJ isn't. But this is why it's so important, and this is really the essence of the book, is a playbook for what should happen over the next year and a half as we head towards the election. Because it's so imperative that Joe Biden not be president come this time 2024. We need to, or I guess that's sort of far-fetched, but at least 2025. So, I mean, we got the election coming up. Joe cannot win again, and he should be held accountable, I think, legally, but that's not for me to decide. That's for the investigators to decide.
Yeah, well, I urge everyone to go out there and get the book. Breaking Biden is the book. I'm going to give it a read. I'm sure it's great. I can tell you what is great, though, Alex Marlow. I love the mustache. You're rocking it.
Thanks, Grant. And you know, it distracts from my Tanimal outfit that I've got going on today. It's 95 degrees where I am right now, so it fits.
If Breaking Biden is as good as the mustache, dude, you're going to kill it with it, buddy. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, and thanks for highlighting this important story.
Absolutely, and it really is an important story. It never seems to end. Thankfully, there are so many people out there investigating this stuff, and at some point, they're going to pay the price for this. All right, I want to bring in now Real America's Voice correspondent, host of Border Wars on Rumble, Anthony Aguero, who's doing tremendous work down on the border. Anthony, welcome to the program. I wanted you to show me some video that you had sent me earlier this morning. I call them rape trees. It's a harsh word, but that's of undergarments being spread on trees normally, but this time it's on the barbed wire fencing. Can you tell me what we're looking at here and where you shot this?
So all of this is actually gathered up over in the Eagle Pass sector. It's a bunch of trash that has accumulated. There's tons of individuals out there all day, all night, just coming in periodically. We were able to obtain footage where we actually saw some of the Border Patrol agents out there cutting some of the wire. It was pretty disturbing to see more than anything because unfortunately, these guys are supposed to be protecting our country, and so you know, I'm just. We're not attacking these people. We're just simply stating what they are doing, and it seems like people want to. We face some kind of backlash for. We're not demonizing these guys. We're simply stating what they're doing, and we know that what they're doing is not right.
You know, Anthony, let me spell it. I've had long conversations with Border Patrol agents about this very thing. I tell them, please refuse the order of cutting the barbed wire fences. Now, here's the problem. Texas put the barbed wire fences not on the demarcation zone, so it's in on U.S. property. When you have illegals come on, Border Patrol is tasked with taking them into custody. This is what Border Patrol says. So they've got to take them into custody. If you put it on the demarcation line, that's right up to the edge of the river. Now you run the risk of these people drowning. I think what needs to happen, the governor of Texas needs to say anybody cuts our barbed wire, you're going to be arrested. Whether that's a Border Patrol agent or not, and let the agencies fight it out and let the Biden administration and Texas fight it out in the courts. But the governor of Texas needs to say if you destroy any of our property, you will be arrested. And I would bet any Border Patrol agent is going to say, you know what, I'm obeying the law. I don't want to run the risk of getting arrested. Hey, folks, you got to go back. Anthony, is there any talk of anything like that happening?
Absolutely. Right now that you are touching on that, your show will be the first show that I come to break the information that as it transpires out here. There are events that are being talked about that might be occurring in the next couple of days, possibly week or so. This is information of individuals that are coming together and that are going to be trying to push to begin starting to arrest some of these people. The Border Patrol agents themselves, the agents out on the ground, the ones that are not supervisors, they can actually refuse these orders as they are backed by the Border Patrol Union. However, the supervisors are not allowed to do that. So for the majority of the time, you have the supervisors out here are the ones that are cutting the fence. And earlier today, I actually asked one of the Border Patrol agents a real sincere question. I know the motto of the Border Patrol is honor first. I said, sir, is this honor first? And his response said, I'm going to call the police to get you out of here. And within seconds, within a few minutes, 4 units from the Eagle Pass Police Department came over, threatened us with arrest. We had to move out of the immediate area. This was after me being down there all morning long. He had been back and forth, even being kind of catty with us. And the minute we asked one simple question, it was over. He was not having it. He got us kicked out of there.
Let me just say this. This is Biden's disaster, okay? These Border Patrol agents shouldn't even be put in this position. We shouldn't have Texas having to put barbed wire up, but they have to put it up. Your video right there just showed you the mess that this is. An infant child coming up through. What are Border Patrol agents supposed to do? Send the infant child back into the river and go back? In many respects, yes. But you don't want the infant child. That is a crime victim. That infant child is a crime victim. And so I believe the Biden administration is ultimately responsible for all of this. I want the best for Border Patrol agents, and I'm urging them, do whatever you can just to say no to cutting this wire, because the one group that is on these guys' sides, conservatives, are going to turn on them if they continue to see them cutting the wire. My advice to these men and women that I have so much respect for, do not cut the wire. Find another way around it, because it just isn't looking good for you. Anthony Aguero, I appreciate you coming on.
I wanted to break this really quick. I wanted to break this here really quick. Venezuela has reached an agreement with the United States of America. Illegal aliens currently from Venezuela that are in custody right now, and any new aliens that come over illegally are going to be deported now directly to Venezuela. Just breaking news just right now.
Interesting. So I'm going to tell you what that's about. Venezuela is a communist country now, run by a dictator. The people fleeing Venezuela are going to be voting for Republicans. The one group of people that we probably could make an asylum claim for are from Venezuela. And lo and behold, Joe Biden's going to send the one group of people that will be voting with conservatives for freedom in this country. He's sending them home. But everybody else can stay. That's what I believe is at play with that move. Anthony Aguero, thank you so much for breaking that news. I appreciate you. All right, folks, listen to me. Everyone needs everyone knows the next medical crisis is just around the corner, whether it comes in the form of a pandemic or something much more mundane like a tick bite. You and your family need to be prepared. That's where the Wellness Company comes in. You know the Wellness Company. They have great doctors like Dr. Peter McCullough on all the time. The Wellness Company and their doctors are medical professionals that you can trust, and their new medical emergency kits are the gold standard when it comes to keeping you safe and healthy. Rest assured, knowing that you have emergency antibiotics, antivirals, and antiparasitics on hand to help you keep your family safe. Here's what I want you to do. Go to twc.health/voice. It is on your screen right there. Order today. That is twc.health/voice. Use the promo code VOICE and save 10%. All right, folks, LA County's zero bail policy went into effect this week. I'll break down how it's making communities less safe and destroying the bail bondsman industry. We'll have an owner of a bail bond company in LA next. California's zero bail policy is now in full effect. That means if you're arrested for things like child porn or rioting or threatening to kill a police officer, you're out on the street. This is George Gascon, the radical district attorney, talking about how this is a good thing.
For people that are concerned that this is going to make L.A. County less safe and people are going to be held less accountable, what say you?
What I say is that there are things that need to be improved. We're going to work on them. I don't believe that long-term this is going to make the county less safe. I think it's going to make us safer because it's going to create more room in our county jail to hold the people that are dangerous.
Kermit the Frog there is literally lying to you, okay? There is no way it doesn't make the community less safe. You have criminals out on the street when they should be behind bars, lots of them. Well, what is this going to do to the bail bondsman industry? Because now there's no cash bail. And they provided an extra layer of security. You skip bail, they would send bail bondsmen to go get you. They want their money too. People forget about this. The owner of the Trinity Bail Bonds, which serves L.A. and other Southern California counties, is with us. Anthony Armstrong is here. Anthony, I appreciate you coming on today.
Hey, thank you, Grant. Glad to be here.
Anthony, first off, what does this do to your business?
Well, it prevents us from doing what we have been, mandated to do, which is to make sure that defendants, once they're removed from the custody of a police agency or the sheriff's office, to be placed in our custody and make sure that they appear in court and that justice is served and that victims get their day in court. If they don't show up for court, it is our duty to make sure that we find them, get them back into custody so that they do make sure that that case is heard out. So that's what we do, and we're no longer able to do that. What this new law also does is it prevents us from posting bail on clients that would normally be able to have bail posted on them and put into our custody. We are hearing stories now that there are people being arrested. They usually are arraigned within a 48-hour period. But now the new system now allows them to, in more serious charges, go to what's called magistrate review. In our magistrate review, we're finding that there are not enough magistrates available, which are not allowing those defendants to be able to get in front of a judge. So they're spending more time in jail than they would have if they were able to post bail, which, is crazy.
This is the situation with most wacky liberal policies. It ends up having the complete opposite effect that the well-intentioned wanted it to have. Let me play you a clip from one of the L.A. County supervisors. This is Holly Mitchell. Listen to her.
We want to make sure we are releasing the right people, and our previous bail system didn't guarantee that. We could release people who could pay their way out. And as I'm listening today and hear about the magistrate process, that there's a new layer of evaluation. It's a new tool in the toolbox to make sure that we are actually evaluating people to make sure that people who are released are the right people.
Anthony, did it have any effect on your clients that come to you to post bail, whether they're black or white or Hispanic or Chinese?
Not at all. Not in any way possible. Whether you're rich or poor, there is an Eighth Amendment right to bail in the country. So I don't understand why they believe that it's a limitation. We in L.A. County, we've always had what's called bail deviation, which is a review once you've been taken into custody. Every defendant has the right to do that immediately. If they get to arraignment and they're not released by a judge, they have a chance to do what's called a Humphreys motion, which is a review for those that are considered indigent or something like that. So now this extra layer that they're talking about, it's been, eliminated.
I'm going to ask you a real tough question.
Sure.
Do they put your business out of business? Can you survive with this?
We can survive. It does hurt us a little bit because these are what they call, as you mentioned earlier, non-serious, non-violent crimes. And these non-serious,
depending on who you
crimes,
ask, though.
Right.
Depending on who you ask, I think threatening a police officer or advocating to injure an officer and rioting and meeting up with soliciting a minor to meet you, to me, are pretty serious. But these are all on the catch and release program. Last word to you, Anthony. What would you like the public to know?
Well, I'd like the public to know that, me as a bail agent, I am also a community member. I have family. I have my daughter, my wife. I have cousins. People, we're all affected by this. So if some shop gets closed down because of the smash and grabs or crime increases in our neighborhoods, we're affected by that too. So we want to make sure that the proper things are done. And that's why I'm proud to be a member of what's called the National Association of Bail Agents and also California Bail Agents here in California that are trying their best to make sure that we have a right to bail here in California.
Anthony, in all your years doing this, have you ever seen it as bad as it is right now in Los Angeles when it comes to crime?
This is crazy. No, never. And, people are getting robbed on the streets in Beverly Hills, and you would think that would change some minds, especially when you have people in legislation, families, homes being broken into and threatened. You think there would be a change. And hopefully the pendulum is shifting and we'll get some real results in the future.
Yeah. Burglary falls on this catch and release program, too, by the way. Burglary. You see somebody breaking into your house, you call the cops, they show up, and they book them and release them. Absolute insanity. Anthony Armstrong, I appreciate you coming on.
Yes, sir.
I wish you and your business the best of luck moving through these trying times out there.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for inviting us.
Absolutely. Appreciate you coming on. It really is an added layer of security. I mean, you can't underestimate it enough. The idea of going after criminals that are running from their court date. Bail bondsmen were doing what police didn't have to do. They were getting them, bringing them back, and making sure they were in court. Now no one shows up to court. What do? Smash and grab, or rob your house, or carjack you. All right, coming up next, Kari Lake filed paperwork earlier this week to run for Senate. We'll get some updates on that, and then we'll talk about Bidenomics and why it's failing this nation. Folks, you know inflation is bad when even one of Joe Biden's buddies starts complaining about it. The CEO of BlackRock, of all places.
We're going to have 10-year rates at least at 5% or higher because of this embedded inflation. This structural inflation is unlike anything. And I think business leaders and politicians are not providing the foundation to help explain this. We have not seen inflation like this in over 30 years.
What scares me is companies like BlackRock actually profiting off of things that Joe Biden does and connecting themselves with China, that all leads to the massive amount of uncertainty in this country that pushes inflation up, and there he is complaining about it. So what do you do about it? Well, joining me now is precious metals specialist from the Birch Gold Group. Our friend Philip Patrick is back. Philip, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Grant.
I do find it ironic that the CEO of BlackRock is complaining about inflation. I think, truthfully, his company may be part of the problem. But what do people do about it, Philip? That's the big question.
Listen, this is a very, very tough climate to navigate because the problems are seemingly endless under a Biden economy. But quite honestly, you know, understanding the problems, inflation is one of them. We have a world distancing from the US dollar, another big problem. We have recession on the horizon or here, depending on who you speak to. So it's a very tough climate to navigate. And I think everybody needs to think about how they can insulate their portfolios against the inflation, the devaluation that we're seeing. Precious metals work very well for that.
All right, so people hear me talk all the time about Birch Gold and the benefit of precious metals. I am seeing now, we know there's a war on cash in this country. Joe Biden talks openly about the war on cash. What I found interesting now is this talk of a global currency is really picking up. What does that do to us and the dollar?
Listen, any currency or any trade happening globally outside of the US dollar does not bode well for us. So whether we talk global currency, whether it's BRICS nations now trading outside of the US dollar, it's terrible for us domestically. Look, currency is like anything else. What drives its value? Supply and demand. When global trades are being done in dollars, that's huge demand for the US dollar. It strengthens the currency by proxy. Any adjustment in that, if we have half the world no longer trading in dollars, it's very difficult for the dollar to ever recover from that. For some context, when the pound sterling lost global reserve currency to the dollar after 1946, the pound has lost over 98% of its relative buying power. So that can be the effect of a world moving away from the dollar. It is significant.
Do you think I'm overly concerned? I believe that this is purposeful. I believe that the global leaders, the globalists, want to weaken the dollar to weaken America.
Look, it feels that way, right? You know, so you look at some of the decisions that have been made over the last decade, and for me, it's one of two things. It's either blind stupidity or something else is happening behind the scenes. And I struggle to believe that anybody's that stupid, quite frankly. Some of the decisions that have been made seem to be being made for nefarious reasons. There's no question about it.
Well, certainly putting money into precious metals is the way to go. Birch Gold can help you. How easy is it to make this happen real quick, Philip? If you want to start investing, how quickly can that happen?
It's very simple. Look, you text America to 989898. What that's going to do is get access to information. It's going to tell your viewers how they can do this. There's plenty of people like me at Birch that are there to guide people through, hold their hand, and make this process very easy. So it's as simple as texting America to 989898.
Well, I can vouch that many Real America's Voice listeners that have come up to me that have used Birch Gold are grateful to you guys, and I'm grateful for your support of this program as well. Philip Patrick, thank you, and thank you to all the guys at Birch.
Thank you, Grant.
All right, absolutely. All right, folks, remember, you can protect yourself with gold today. Just as he said, text America to the number 989898. That's America to the number 989898. And yes, Kari Lake has filed paperwork to run for the United States Senate. She's not announced yet. That will come on October 10th, I'm told the big announcement will be. But she has filed that paperwork. Now she will be up against my very good friend, Sheriff Lamb. Now I've got two buddies running for the same seat, both Kari and Mark Lamb. Arizona has two great conservative fighters vying for that position. No loss for Arizona in that one if either one of them win. All right, coming up after the break, Philadelphia's DA Larry Krasner says he might let some looters off the hook. Go figure.
Here are some of the headlines we are featuring today from your favorite news outlets at offthepress.com. The campaign for House Speaker is on and in full force. A day after Republicans threw out Kevin McCarthy, two-party titans have announced they want the job, but expect more to join Steve Scalise and Jim Jordan before next week's election. Here's something we never thought President Biden would say: build the wall. His immigration chief is finally taking action to stop illegal immigration, and that includes Trump's wall. The president and first lady have failed again to train their dog. Their latest, a German shepherd named Commander, has been kicked out of the White House for biting staff and security. And nobody won the Powerball drawing Wednesday. That means Saturday's jackpot will be $1.4 billion, the third highest ever. But if you win, we have a warning that taking the cash option might not be your best bet. For stories like these and more updates all day long from your favorite news outlets, go to offthepress.com.
The DA calls it individual justice and says everyone involved in the looting will be looking